All right, everybody. Welcome back. You know who I am, Caroline Beste of the Tao of Horsemanship. This is Everything Horses and More, weekly podcast. You know who my lovely co-host is next to me, Sabrina Arbogast. She, of course, is going to take comments or questions. I should say questions. So speaking about today, we are going to do a slight continuation of last week's podcast where I was talking about consensual partnership. A lot of people requested that I just dive in a little bit deeper. Thanks, love. Mm-hmm. I can do the rest. Okay. And then we're going to show a video that I did not show last week. Y'all just bear with me for a second. I'm going to put my phone in here and get ready to, film myself. Pretty cool. And the video is a video I created like, I don't know, 10 plus years ago. It's, this is pretty nice. Let me just give me 1 second, you guys. All this technology that I recorded with my Trinity and back at my place that I was renting in Pennsylvania. Absolutely stunning facility. Let me see here. That should look pretty good. There's a lot of light though. All right. That looks a little bit better. You're going to get a little bit of a reflection of my glasses, which is going to stink. But we're just giving this all a trial. See how this all turns out. Such a hassle. In the video, I just think, and we've gotten a lot of great feedback. It does a great job showing all of the moments with my horses, the moments of connection and conversation, and the consensual partnership where they each are helping and as a group. It's just so cool. I mean, just doesn't get any cooler or deeper than that. So I just wanted to go through it so that I can, if no one, there's so many pieces to it. If you go slow and train your eye, you see so much of the depth and the potential. And then that training of your eye allows you to become more observant and aware and present so that you can capture and create those moments with your horse. So that's the key. That's so important. Training the eye is so important and so undervalued. Everybody wants to get to it and do it. So we're going to take a look at that. And then we're going to jump into today's podcast, which might be a continuation. There might be a part 2 at the end of the month when I speak again. And today's title is How Horses Help Us Become Better Versions of Ourselves. This is a deep one, really deep. I've got a lot of writing here. And I always pull from other articles that are similar to this title or similar to the points that I want to make, and then that'll allow me to really dive in deeper and share my experiences and my understanding of how horses have helped me become a better version of myself. Okie doke. So let's just get this a little higher here. Give me 1 more second, you guys, and let me get that where I need it. It's got to be tight. And it might have to go back a little further. Okay, all right, well, that'll be good enough. We'll just give this a try. See if I nail it with the technology. Blah. At least I have a new phone. I don't even know how to really work it yet. I mean, it's supposed to be, thank you, Lydia. It's supposed to be the same phone as an i12 mini iPhone. All right, so here we go. Okay, so last week we talked about consensual partnership, and I think the biggest takeaway for me, and maybe for you guys, and if not, again, let us know what you want me to expand upon. But the biggest takeaway with consensual partnership, sorry about that. I guess, can I do the
airplane mode?
I can't. Will I be able to film if I do the airplane mode?
Yeah.
All right, hold on, guys.
That's what you did the last time.
I don't remember. There's always so much going on. All right, let me stop this. Let me do airplane mode. I'm on airplane mode. Let me go back and see if I can't, get this back. Okay, cool. I'll start it all over again. Okay, airplane mode is on. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and start the video again. Okay, so for me, consensual partnership. I'm not sighing because I'm stressed. I'm sighing because I'm trying to find the easiest, simplest way to define it, because it shows up, and I mean, we have to create it. We have to develop it. We have to get to this place, but it's like the ultimate. It's the ultimate in your partnership and relationship with your horse. But it starts right away, and it starts in the simplest form of being connected with your horse, connected, paying attention to each other, but not just you watching and focusing on your horse, it's your horse also paying attention to you, and in combination with the ability to have a conversation, communicate. And I often talk about what connection means to me in my work and communication. I often talk about it in so many of my videos, but I just talk about it. I don't really dive into it. And, out there in my industry with all the other equine professionals that are out there selling you their version of connection and communication, it is different than mine. It's similar, but it's different. And connection and communication equal consensual partnership. So while that's a really simple way of putting it, it is not an easy thing to achieve, because your consensual partnership with your horse is the ultimate realm. It is the ultimate space that you want to be in. No different than any being that you love, specifically a human being, whether it's your child or your partner, family member, best friend, you have this ability to work together, don't you? I mean, we have opposition, don't get me wrong. We always have opposition. We can always have areas in our life with other humans where there's a confrontation or opposition. And we certainly see that in our horsemanship. It's how do you find that way in life, like the woo-wee that I always talk about in my Taoist practices and in my methodology of horsemanship, the woo-wee, the law of non-action. And it doesn't mean that you don't do anything. It's really about how you do something, how you go about it. And it starts with a mindset and a shift in your mindset and in your attitude, but also your perception, your paradigm. And often, without getting too complicated in this conversation, we all have our own triggers and traumas from our past. And those triggers and traumas skew our perception, just like they do the horse. And we're not really able to see the truth or the reality of a situation. Often, we're not allowed to see the truth or the reality because of our triggers and our emotional attachment to a situation. And so it gives me chills talking about this. It's a deep one. So, it's a simple, I'm trying to make this as simple as possible, but it's not easy to get to this place. And that's why, I'm not trying to put down all the other professionals out there in my industry. They have their own perception of what connection is for them and how it works for them and their horse and how it shows up and how they teach it. But for me, just the word connection and then the word conversation or communication, they are so layered. And it is not just about paying attention. It is not just about being mindful. It is those things and so much more. And you have to understand that there is a map or a path or a roadmap. You have to have a guide to get to these places. Oh, can you check that door? You might need to close it. I think the wind just blew it open. You have to understand that a lot of the depth and complexity that you want to achieve with your horse, like consensual partnership, is not easy. Just like evolving or changing a pattern of behavior, a mindset, a lifestyle within us, it is not easy. You need help. There are so many facets and areas that create and make or allow you to achieve that end result. And I mean, that's what I teach. You've got that specifically in the Mastery Membership Program. You also have so much of what I'm talking about in the spirituality course. Thank you, Hun, which is the first course of the Mastery Membership. So with consensual, and that's why I want to play this video and train your eye, you know, so that you understand. It's just like when you're studying the Mastery Membership or even spirituality course, you know, I'm working specifically with schoolmasters. I'm not working with horses that have to learn this way and have triggers and challenges. If I designed a course where all you saw was me retraining or working through challenges with horses, you'd be so confused. And you would never understand what the big picture looks like or the end result or the vision of, and you have to visualize this. You have to learn how to become a conscious visualizer. You've got to visualize and have a vision. And that's part of your destination. And of course, the journey to get there. You've got to understand what it's gonna look like. Or it's no different than when I talk about ride the horse you have today, not the horse you had yesterday. And why it's so important as a student in whatever horsemanship area you're learning. Because remember, horsemanship is really, the definition is the art of riding. And the art of riding isn't just riding, it's also groundwork, it's also understanding biomechanics and lunging. So it's a very well-rounded system of education when it comes to horsemanship. And so whatever area of horsemanship you are studying and practicing, you need to practice with a horse much better than you, because that horse is going to teach you the feel that you're looking for, right? If all you're ever doing is fighting, for the lack of a better word, or hitting challenges with your current horse, which can happen, you guys, because the horse has triggers and you're learning. If all you're ever doing is staying in that same spot and struggling to fix it, then all you know is what you know. You don't know what you don't know. All you know is what you're feeling. All you know is what you're seeing. Your experience is based on that particular experience and nothing more. And so another valuable reason or benefit to training your eye and your feel, so that you can say, hey, this doesn't look right, or this doesn't feel right. So yeah, consensual partnership is a conversation, just like it would be with your best friend. You're not gonna, it's not a benevolent dictatorship. It's not a one-way street. It's a relationship where you're gonna talk about the things you want to do together. And because you respect and care about that person so much, you're gonna want to find the path of least resistance, the easiest way to work together, be together, enjoy each other. Doesn't mean you're not gonna have challenges or arguments, but then how do you resolve them? That's key. And so to me, consensual way, I have the exact same mindset I do with the people in my life. except I will honestly say, I've never lost my cool with a horse. But I have certainly lost my cool with plenty of people. You know, you can only get so far sometimes. And we also have our own triggers. Excuse me. Allergy came in through the door. It's so dry here, you guys. Crazy. We need some, excuse me, desperate rain. So does that make sense, the way I'm explaining the depth and the complexity of consensual partnership? And it is a journey. It is a personal journey that is unique to each person and your relationship with your horse. It is unique. And that's the other thing.
Meadow asked, you never lost your cool with a horse?
Who asked?
Meadow? M-A-D-O?
No, I've never lost my cool with a horse. Maddo, welcome. I hope we're pronouncing your name correct, M-A-D-O. So please let us know. We get a lot of students, international students, and language is not my specialty. So Mado or Maddo? No, I've never lost my cool with a horse. I've never lost my temper. I've never, and I haven't with any animal, and I've never been violent, obviously, or verbally abusive with an animal. I've never manhandled and gotten strong. Now, don't get me wrong. Let's put it this way. There are moments where I have definitely, many moments where I have yelled at one of my horses for a particular reason. But my yelling and the strength, the conviction of my yell isn't emotional. It's not because I'm pissed off or angry. It's because they've done something they shouldn't have, and I'm yelling to get their attention and interrupts the behavior. So it's the power of the intention that you put into the tonal quality. And that's why my horses are not afraid of me. It's no different than when I have to use a strong action to interrupt a behavior or wake my horse up to pay attention. And a strong action, as I refer to often in my teachings, is I'll take the lunge whip and crack it and snap them and give them a bite on the chest or a bite on the butt. And they're never afraid. So you have to get them to that point where they can differentiate, and you have to get yourself to that point where you're congruent enough and self-aware enough that you can come on strong and do what you need to, just like a mother horse would nip or bump or kick their foal to teach them what's appropriate behavior or not. That's not the first phase, of course. They will wait. But yeah, I mean, I've gotten big and I've yelled, but it's not because I want to kill my horse. So again, I think that question raises a great conversation on levels of consciousness. And levels of consciousness to me are based upon your personal experience, what you've experienced, as well as how you've taken that in and understood the experience. And then how has it affected you? And everyone's experience is different. And so if you've never had an experience with consensual partnership, how are you going to even know? Like, I can talk all the words and I can show you what it looks like, but until you start looking for those moments and those pieces of consensual, until you learn how to create that opportunity to develop consensual, you've got to learn how to create it. You're not going to be able to really identify with it. And until you've been in my shoes and have had self-control and been able to, yay, out, I said out, and I'm running after my horse and smacking the whip. And if I tag him, I tag him. So a good example might be one of my YouTube videos on connection, where I think I have Lovey with me, Sabrina. We did it last year, and Legend and the baby are watching us in an adjacent paddock. And the baby starts to go after Legend, who's somewhat crippled, and goes to play with him out of frustration because he can't be with Lovey and me. And we showed the whole thing, and I literally ran. I said, out, 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 or something like that, which is my cue, out. And then I ran with the whip smacking the ground. And I don't know if I made contact with Blue because he didn't take me seriously because he was going to jump on top of Legend and hurt him.
Yeah, you did.
I did make contact, but Blue wasn't afraid of me. But if you don't understand what I'm talking about, and I had a couple of comments like, oh my God, not that that was abusive, but how wrong I was and how I was scared my horse. No, I didn't scare my horse. That's called interrupting behavior and developing enough of a relationship and an understanding with your horse through kind of a warning and a phase system like their mothers do, that, hey, when I get that big, you better watch out. And hopefully I don't have to get that big. Hopefully you'll learn to take me seriously so that when I say out, you know what's coming after that if you don't get out, if that makes sense. But that's just, based on your experience. So you might think, oh my God, she yells at her horses. That's crazy and abusive. And I'm like, my horses aren't affected. I'm not yelling at them to give them low self-esteem or to punish them or to make them scared of me. I'm yelling at them specifically to interrupt a behavior or to project a strong enough energy to let them know that that was really not a good thing. And that's it. Okay. So moving on to consensual, let's go ahead and check out this video. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. Let me get out of this because I have to open up the video. There we go. Let me open up this video first. I love this music. I know, I'm so attached to this video. It means so much to me for so many reasons.
Have you shared it?
No, I'm not. I'm just trying to get it set up, but thank you. Okay. So let me go ahead and screen share. Yeah, see, I can't find it. Let me see if I can minimize. The problem is I'm trying to minimize my screen. There we go. So if I don't, hang on, you guys, let me stop this. If I don't minimize it, there we go. I got it now. Let me see. No, no, I can't get it out of here. Where'd it go? Oh my gosh. Hold on, guys. Another thing we'll have to, whenever I share, you've got to figure out how to get this all set up just right. Come here, goofy thing. There we go. Couldn't get it out of, all right, so give me 1 second. Technology. All right, now it should be able to, there we go. You guys will see it now. Give me 1 sec. All right. All right, so there's my beloved Smoky, and this was, we had hundreds of acres around the facility that I was renting, with stream back in the woods and trails and really hilly terrain. It was absolutely fantastic. Bridges, everything. My landlord did a great job providing. He was a horseman himself. So this is consensual partnership with horses. I'm going to go ahead and just allow the music to play a little bit because it is really soothing, and I'll stop it. But one of the things I want you to notice right now, and if you can see where my arrow is on my mouse, you're going to look at Smokey's ears. So you've got one ear on the camera, and that would be his right ear, and then his left ear is coming back to pay attention to me. So you can take notes if you want, you guys, because I'm going to point out all the things you need to pay attention to, not just what you feel, because like I can feel him. I mean, our hearts, I can feel his body. You can see the sense of relaxation in him right now as we are bridleless and bareback with no pad. So let me play this. So just keep looking at his ears the whole time. So I'm going to go back to just watch Smokey as we go again. Watch his ears, you guys, and his face, his eyes. So always pay attention to eyes and ears, because that's him telling you and showing you that he's connected to me and he's listening to me. And then, you know, you got to be able to look at everything, but right now we're going to focus on the horse. And then you can, when you get really good at this, you'll be able to jump back and forth between his eyes and ears, and then where are my eyes and what's my body language, and then what's his body language. So as soon as I look to the right, his right ear is on me. Pretty cool. You want to see that again? Pretty effing cool. So as we get going into a canter, I want you guys to pay attention to my face, because I'm going to tilt to the right because we're going in a circle. And as soon as we're going straight, so he's looking straight at the camera, I'm looking at the camera, then I'm looking down, and then I'm looking to the right, and he's going to go right because he's following my focus, and you'll see his ear follow me. There I go, to the right. Pretty cool. And then this is really cool, because what you're about to see is me half passing in between cones, bridleless, and at a trot. You guys recognize this on my YouTube channel and Facebook. So, yep. So how does your horses, do they lean into you? Do they lean into your touch? You know, first, what's consensual? You need to ask for permission and find out the ways in which your horse likes to be touched, brushed, tacked up, talked to, ridden, worked with. It's just like, I mean, I don't understand why it's any different than having a best friend or dating someone and courting someone. You want to find out what they like. Well, first you want to make sure there's a connection. There's a chemistry, always. So your best friend, your husband, your partner in life, I mean, we get to choose them, unlike our family members. We get to choose them, and hopefully we choose them for most of the right reasons. Sometimes we choose because of old comfortable patterns and behaviors. But hopefully, you know, when we have great friendships and relationships, we're choosing because there's a chemistry and a connection. That's number one. And it's just one of those intuitive things. And then it's enough, that chemistry, to draw you into that person, to get to know that person. And then you figure out, you know, wow. Once you get to know that person, you almost look the same, speak the same, have similar mannerisms. I mean, you want to protect your own identity, for the lack of a better word, and keep your autonomy. But how many of us have seen married couples that look identical, almost like brother and sister sometimes, because they just start sharing the same mannerisms? And they don't have to have the same hair color or eye color or skin color, but it's really those mannerisms that best friends, best girlfriends, you know, and guy friends, you're attracted to usually someone that's most like you. I know the saying says opposites attract, but I mean, you got to understand the whole physiology, psychology behind likeness, and especially horses, period. They are hardwired and designed instinctively to choose friendships that are like them, the horses that are most like them. And for the most part, we do too. We choose relationships that either remind us of our father or our mother, you know, other relationships that we're most comfortable with, whether they're good or bad. But we also choose, hopefully, friendships that mirror the values that we have, and the likes, so that we can share. Well, to me, it's no different with our horses. Ever. It's never been any different with, especially horses, for me, especially horses. So when I rub and love on my horses, do they rub and love back on me? And if they don't, and I have one in particular still, Miss Sundance, my white quarter horse mare, if they don't, whoops, she'll always let you know. But, you know, you got to pay attention to that. You got to pay attention to that. Oh, and when I kiss him, what's he do? He shuts his eyes. I mean, I could cry. So just watch as I play this back, because I'm gonna, let me see if I can get this a little lower, because my, just watch, I'm gonna kiss him and he's going to close his eyes. It's like every time, I could cry. I go to kiss my horse's eyes, they close their eyes and they put their head deep into me so that I can love on them. So here we go. Oops, we missed it. Let me get back a little bit. It's just beautiful. But these are all your building blocks. These are the things you need to be mindful of and pay attention to and earn. It went so fast. I don't know if I can play it back again. Oh, well, I guess when I kissed him, he just kind of leaned his head even more into me. And of course, Legend was paying attention, my little Arab. There you go. There's the kissing and the eyes closing. And there I'm on him. So this is the first time I put my legs. So when you start young horses or colt start or restart horses, there's a lot of working in their blind spot. And this is, I had not, you know, Smokey busted my ribs up when I first got him. He taught me so much about asking for permission to get on. And he was unrideable when I first got him. And so what you're about to see when I'm laying on his back and my legs are bent, my feet are up in the air kind of, I had done, but many years prior. So this is the first time in a long time, and we're at a new place that, you know, he sees me like this. So just watch how he's looking around. He's looking for me and he's turning his head. Oh, he's nickering too. Oh, he's nickering. He was a big nickerer. I loved every time I rode him and got off, he'd nicker. He's so abused. But see all the contact and all the eye. They're always looking, you guys. They're always listening to you. Always. He did not want to stop here. Smokey is one of the few horses, and I know that Joey's easy this way in blue, that I had to train to ride next to me freestyle without anything on. So it's always a conversation. You see me always looking and feeling. And yep. And so Sundance is the one that came trotting out and pulling on me while Smokey's right there with the loose lead rope. And Legend is proudly taking me to take them out to the field. And then Gracie is the little black Arab on the next to Sundance. She was mine. So all I did was Sundance. I literally said in my mind, my energy and in my mind, I need you. I'm going to look at her because she's getting behind ledge and pulling on the rope. And I just said, get up here. Yeah, I didn't pull on her, did I? I just said, get up here in my mind and in my energy. You don't pull on me. And this is how they're helping. So you've got Smokey and Legend. And they're all waiting, those four, because they're mine. And we didn't do this very often, once in a blue moon. And then you see the little chestnut Legacy in the back thinking, oh, I'm going to come with you guys. But nope, I got Legend right up there, mighty fast. Let's close that gate. And Smokey's right behind us, already moving in on Legacy to help. Look at Smokey paying attention to what I'm doing. What do I need? Where do you need me? I'm just talking to him the whole time, telling him exactly where I need him and what I need him to do. They know, you guys. They know everything you say and feel. You got to believe in it. It's real. It's real. I get so sick of some of the science that just keeps us so limited in a box. Well, horses can understand up to 70 different words. My horses understand complete freaking sentences. All horses do. You just have, it's like, it's learning how to communicate. You have to believe in it, and you have to develop the ability within you to be that clear and congruent. So I'm like, oh, I'm scared of you, Sundamned. Oh. So this is when we were performing in some of the major expos, and I was performing as a clinician. But once they got to those big venues and events, they Sundance didn't shut down, but the boys would get overwhelmed. So this is just some fancy footwork, backing up and side passing bridleless with the neck rope. I think the coolest thing with the work that I teach you guys, I know this is more at a masterful level working with 3 horses, but how to open yourself up to be present, mindful, and speak, open your energy, open your chakras up, clear them, learn how to be congruent so you're clear when you are communicating. Let me stop the share. It's so important to achieving consensual partnership. Because if not, you're just going to be making your horse. There's still going to be forms and layers and of making your horse do something instead of understanding that. I mean, I don't know how much you guys could see with this video, but I mean, I'm just talking to them within my heart and my mind the entire time. If you do see my mouth going, it's usually telling them how much I love you and thank you, and you're such a great boy. But everything else is all within me, the whole level of communication. And that is what eventually creates a consensual partnership. I mean, how can you ride bridleless on all 3 horses and work with, a multitude of horses at the same time? You have a question?
From Abigail. Have you ever connected with a horse while you're assessing them for purchase several times prior to saying yes, and then lean into your touch, mutually groom, etc.? And then once you start the hard work at asking things of them, they start pulling away from your touch and backing away from you when approached and around him. It's made me really question my own energy and wonder why the change. She wasn't drugged or anything, as I bought her from a trusted friend, also my farrier, and she has had her since 6 months old. She's going to be 4 in July in a Frisian cross.
Great question, Abigail. Excellent question. And I definitely have the answer for that. So yes, this is what you're experiencing with your Frisian cross. How old is she?
4 now.
4 now, and she's only had one other owner, is so normal. And the best I can offer you is a sense of perspective and understanding. So what happens, unfortunately, there's 2 things that could be happening for you specifically because your horse is so young. One, your horse has had some level of handling or development because she is 4. So I don't know the history. If you can share that with me, what kind of ground training or any riding has your horse been exposed to? Because right there, that's going to create that big disconnect between the 2 of you. And the big disconnect is the unfortunate misuse and abuse of pressure. And so when you first meet a horse and you connect with them, you're not asking anything of them, and so your heart is open and you have no agenda, and it's easy for the 2 of you to connect. But the minute you start to do something or ask your horse to do something, that's the real assessment. So when you asked me the question, Caroline, have you ever done an assessment and connected with the horse, and then only to find out later that when you ask them to do something, it falls apart. Well, my assessments include asking the horse to do many things. I have maybe 5 or 6 part 1 through 5 assessment full-length videos on my YouTube channel. So that go through the range of, the typical normal things we have to assess for that do require a vet, yada, 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 all the way through all the assessment exercises, which I teach in my mastery membership. So I am well aware of the horse's nature and their learned behaviors, which are mostly coping mechanisms, and their ability to think, learn, and how they handle pressure, all the above. I have a clear idea in my assessments so that I know what I'm dealing with. And then and most of the time, this is for my students when I used to train horses all the time and retrain them. So it was easy for me to say, yep, this is exactly what's going on. This is pretty much how long it's going to take me to work through it. So that's one thing, is what has your horse experienced before you got her? And that could be the reason why she totally comes apart and disengages from you when you are trying to teach her or ask her to do something. There's a total disconnect. Second, or both, could be you are confusing her. Let me give you an example to help make this really clear. When you have a fresh young horse, and it could be 4 years of old, let's say it was a horse that was still pretty feral at the age of 4. And there's lots of breeding facilities all over the world where horses are literally untouched until they're bought. Yes, they may get their shots, they're fed every day, and they have to get a farrier for the most part, but they're literally untouched. And I'm not saying that they're not going to act wild, they will, but it'll be so much easier to earn their trust and to start teaching them, training them as soon as you earn their trust. Then if you raise a baby horse who has complete trust and feels like you're part of their family, that baby horse is not going to have any problem with anything you do. If anything, they're going to be disrespectful because you've taught them how to be disrespectful. But those types of young horses that have amazing relationships with their human from the early ages and no bad handling and no bad experiences, they are total sponges. They are open. They learn like this. I have been on the back of them the first day. They have no fear. The human has presented nothing but positive. They have nothing to fear, nothing. But how many of us have the opportunity to ever even experience that? And so just because your 4-year-old Frisian may not be trained, I don't know yet.
She says she has an amazing solid foundation with Liberty training and has been slowly started under saddle.
So that's very contradicting, Abigail. If she has such an amazing foundation with Liberty and started under saddle, then why is she disengaging with you? So the point I'm making is it's not always you. It could be a combination. But if the horse has had a great start at training, that means they're always going to be confident, open learners. That means you, the person, can make a shitload of mistakes and the horse is going to look at you like, what is wrong with you? But if your horse is adversely being affected and either going into flight or fight mode or freeze mode, self-preservation modes, then that has mostly to do with her horrible start at Liberty and under saddle. And you, hold on, Sabrina, you, Abigail, might be triggering her. But look, when we're all learning, we're going to be confusing our horses. And so the problem is when you have a really healthy, confident horse, they're not going to be affected by that. It's like if you guys come and study with me and my horses, and my students do, you guys don't fuck my horses up. Now, if you had them for a period of time, you might, honestly. But while you're here learning, my horses are totally confident and open and allow you to make a shitload of mistakes, and they just wait for you to get it right. Do you see the difference I'm making? I'm not saying that you're not causing some of that grief with this new horse, but at least 75% of it is because of, sorry, the horrible training it's had. Yes, ma'am.
She said, I will say I have a very strong presence and energy. I can be intense and I have been trying to be more self-aware. I think I might be confusing her and she's possibly shutting down on me. I know she has a deep, I know she has.
All right, let me stop right there.
Okay,
Just hold
good.
on. So listen, if you have a, let me tell you how this is going to go down. Let me tell you what's really going on. If you have a strong energy and your horse is shutting down, that's not because of you. This is all about pressure and horrible training. So let me tell you the opposite. A horse that has never had a bad experience with strong energy is going to do one of two things. Stand there and look at you like, what's your problem? If they're really confident, or run the fuck away from you, which is their natural self-preservation, to flee. But when a horse shuts down, that's called learned helplessness. And guess what, Abigail? Horses don't learn that on their own. They learn it from us. And I'm not raising my voice because of you. I just want to bring this awareness to you that your horse is being triggered. And I am so sick and tired of everyone believing that our horses have these magical training experiences, or just because they can do great liberty or great lunging or great riding under saddle, that the horse is healthy emotionally and balanced, and that their learning experience was positive, because 99.9% of the time it wasn't positive. And it's called learned helplessness. They learn how to shut it off. And also one of the sciences with horses in pain, both emotional and physical, is if they're overwhelmed by different sources of pain, emotional or physical, they will respond to the toughest pain, the worst pain, and they will actually become not just indifferent, but they will actually shut off the other levels of pain and discomfort. Horses are by nature designed to not be stoic, isn't the right word, but they're natural healers if they're given the opportunity, but they can absorb a lot of pain and still keep moving on. And this is a recent study that I collected, which is amazing, from one of the universities doing the research. So not to shut you down, Abigail, but you need to rethink and take a different perspective when you are looking at your horse and working with your horse, a different understanding, a compassionate understanding. And think about, I don't know if you're in, but learn how to retrain this poor horse, because pressure exists everywhere. And to me, my liberty training with horses, to get that big exuberance and joy, is not just about the relationship and playing with them. It's also them mirroring my energy, and my energy is really big, and I want them to not be afraid of that. So if your energy is really big and you feel like you're electrocuting your horse, I'm not saying that that's not possible, but predominantly if your horse is shutting down, that is a definite response to learned helplessness. Okay, so I'm going to move on. I love the questions. That was a fantastic question. Let's talk about how horses help us become better versions of ourselves. So I have a question for all of you. And the question is, how have horses helped you? If they have, how has your horse, or horses in general, because sometimes a lot of you work for rescues and you don't really have a horse yet, helped you to be the best version of yourself? And some of you may not even understand what I mean by that. And you can leave a comment and a quick sentence about how they've helped you become a better person. And if you can't, just write down some keywords, some adjectives, and I'm going to give you a bunch of mine. Some adjectives, or a list of words that describe how horses have influenced you positively, helped you grow and evolve into a better version of you. Real quick, I'm going to talk about my story growing up with my backyard horse, Brandy. and compare that to when I came back to horses in my late 30s and what that looked like when I had my Trinity and my donkey, so my 4 equines. Because it's a big difference. This is huge, and for some of you, you may not really be able to understand how horses can make us a better version of ourselves. So I think giving these 2 life experiences at very different but pivotal points in my life, where I was very different, will help you understand what I'm talking about. Do you have any questions or anything?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So my backyard horse, I got around the age of 9, and he literally was in my backyard, and it was an amazing experience. I had him for 25 years. So I got him when he was 7, and he lived till he was 32. And, you know, you're young, right? And I went through a lot of trauma in my early teens and had a nervous breakdown from severe panic attacks and anxiety, and came out of it much stronger and for the better. But it wasn't because of my horse at that time. And, you know, I understand the difference between being a young teenager and a teen, and then a young adult, and then coming into my middle age life, you know, the big shift in awareness and consciousness. Okay. Because you have all that life experience, hopefully, that's helped to shape you. So there was a big difference. You know, I had some amazing experiences with my horse. We had an experience like Alec Ramsey did with the Black Stallion. We did all the bridleless, we did all the Liberty, had him laying down, you know, all this stuff. And laying down was organic. It happened because he laid down and I laid down with him. And then before you knew it, every time I laid down, he laid down with me, and I created a cue system. It was totally organic. It wasn't done with tricks, treats, manipulation, or positive or negative reinforcement. None of my Liberty, riding bridleless, anything was done because of negative or positive reinforcement. You didn't even talk about that back then. And it was just done at a relationship. It was in paying close attention at that age to what was working and building on that. So I guess it was positive reinforcement, and just keep building. None of it was ever negative for me. I saw a lot of negative, and that's why I got out of showing at an early age. And I also was still exercising these show ponies and making money. It was one of 3 jobs I had at the age of 12. So yeah, I still was exposed to a lot of negative, and very determined to try and make a better experience for these show ponies. So when I came back into horses, you know, I was like all cocky, you know, like, oh yeah, I get horses. I had a great relationship with my horse. I did things that most people never even thought about, talked about. You know, rode through the woods and jumped over logs, you know, with a halter on and bareback. And I think there's quite a few of us that rode horses like that back then too. So the point I want to make is I went through a lot of therapy for 2 years because of my nervous breakdown. It was phenomenal. And I was, you know, reading all sorts of phenomenal books that were out. I mean, Deepak Chopra, you know, I love these books. I talk about them often in my library. Oh my gosh, I can't even think about it. There was a whole series. The first book came out, I think, when I was in high school. It was either 18 or 19 or my first year of college. Anyway, I can't think of all these books, but books that just enlightened me and helped me grow. My books, besides my therapist at the time, but then I was also still working on myself all through college and forward. So books were my refuge. And the one thing that they were my mentor, you know, was the one thing I could really connect with and felt understood by, and find answers and resolutions and solutions. Books. I was always at the library. And so, make a long story short, I thought I was pretty evolved. Big time. And I had tons of friends, major friends in college, boys, you know, girls and boys, like there's usually 30 to 50 of us. I mean, honestly, loved my friendships, I waited tables, all through high school, during college, sold my artwork, for 10 years. So bartender. So, I loved people. My brother found my old high school yearbook, one of them, Sabrina, over the weekend.
Oh my, you didn't bring it back?
No, I have it.
Oh.
And I forgot, I think in 9th grade, a freshman, that I was on a team. There were 6 or 7 of us as a freshman that were assistants to the guidance counselor. We were there to help young youth with their problems. And I forgot that I did that. So I've always been interested in stuff, what I'm doing, right? But I thought I had it all. I had great friendships. We could talk about anything. Everybody usually came to me for help. I wonder why. Oh my God. When I got back into horses, did I have a rude awakening, in every sense of the word. And if I wasn't ready and open to receive the information, the feedback, if I wasn't open and ready to receive, I never would have gotten the information. I never would have understood it. I wouldn't be who I am today. And so to sum up, coming back into horses, how horses made me a better version of myself. Holy crap. I felt like I was getting, it's crazy because I tell you guys often, when I came back into horses, I had a whole nother business and I was in Washington, DC, and I made a great real estate investment and used that money towards my, down payment for my first farm. And I built this amazing training facility. And I took a 2-year sabbatical so I could go and study. And while I was studying, I could develop myself and what I wanted to develop. And that included my 3 horses, Sundance, Smoky, and Legend. And in the 2 years, it was bittersweet because I was able to travel and study with some of the best out there. And I had this beautiful, sweet farm, and I was married at the time. I had everything that I ever wanted, and yet it was bittersweet because I was getting knocked down left and right by my horses. I was getting knocked down left and right by my ego. I never realized. I thought because I read these enlightened books and I worked so hard on myself and I was so open, and I was open, I never realized how much ego I had and how much ego got in my way. That's the number one word that just pops out of my head. And, I look back on all of that and I understand that the ego that I had, the level of ego that I had was definitely learned, because I look at my family dynamic. It was definitely a learned behavior. And it's definitely part of my nature. I think anybody that is driven, ambitious, a type A personality, I think raise your hand, when you're ready to open yourself up to change, I think the hardest for people like us. And that's a whole nother conversation, and a lot of study and research I've done about it to try to wrap my brain around why change was so hard for me. And if I didn't allow my horses or trust my horses to be the catalyst to this change, it would have never happened, because I certainly didn't go there with my husband at the time, and I didn't go there with any of my family. And while I had these really deep and intimate friendships with my best guy friends and girlfriends, and believe me, we talked about everything, look at me, I'm still that person, that hasn't changed. I still cut it off. There was still this place within me that couldn't be emotionally intimate or vulnerable. And that had so much to do with trust issues, And the one thing that I didn't even think about when I came back into horses, but the one thing that became apparent to me and obvious to me, but not until I was well into this discovery with my horses, was that I didn't trust anyone. And I shut that door. And I was always this overachiever that could just do it on her own. And I couldn't rely on anyone. I never let anybody in deep, into the core of me. where I could, in a healthy way, depend or rely on them. And so much of that has to do with your family, my family background too, and the trauma and the drama. I think a lot of us can relate to that level of trauma where you just, there's only so far you're going to let anybody get to you. I don't care if it's your husband, wife, whoever, except your children, because you have trauma. And so it wasn't until I got back into horses, and again, I was ready and open. I had no idea that I was this person. I thought I was this amazingly open person. And I thought I was all of these things I'm talking to you about. And I wasn't. And I kept getting knocked down specifically by Legend. It wasn't Smokey. And I gave Sundance a year off to be a horse, and then Smokey was untouchable and unrideable. And so he was treated, each of my three were treated very differently. And then Legend was the most approachable and affectionate, with lots of riding triggers and issues. So he had a lot of trust issues because of the way he was ridden. But Lay broke me. I say that often. My little Arab broke me. And through him, because of my love for him and of him, I could cry about that too. And my desire to keep that door open to learn. And because I felt so safe with my horse, nobody else, but just my horses, but it was Legend right now, my guide. Legend was my spiritual guide. I felt so safe with him. I allowed him to break me, and breaking's good. That means it's like retraining and rebuilding. You've got to break down those old patterns and habits and comforts and what you thought you were or what meant something to you. You've got to learn how to let it go and rebuild yourself. And so, wow, was that my new journey into myself, and how each of my horses, Legend did the hardest work. And honestly, he was semi-retired in 2009 for many reasons. We had accomplished everything, the haute col, all of the haute col, the piaffe, all bridleless, the tempi lead changes, bridleless and bareback. We were well on our way, trail riding bridleless. And plus he had weak suspensory. So when I started to watch myself in videos, it was now Smokey and Sundance's turn to become my spiritual guides, and they were ready. Pretty beautiful. And then they each had so much more to teach me. So much more to teach me. Whew. I'm tired. So, well, anyway, it's all good. I'm not tired anymore, because now I get to share all of that learning and that journey with all of you. So some of the words that I wrote, and it's just a list of words because I just gave you a pretty powerful experience. An example is, I have 23, this just was a stream of consciousness, 23. Trust. So how have my horses helped me become the best me? And it's always a work in progress. It's always a work in progress, but a better version of myself. They've helped me learn what trust really means. They've helped me learn the truth of myself, my pain, my vulnerabilities, my fears. Whew. They've helped me be honest about that. And with that comes being authentic. Your soul's authenticity. What is your soul's desire? Your soul's authenticity. Oh, they've taught me about love.
Lydia would like to know if Zor is next.
Zor is next. I can talk a little bit about that. They've taught me about selflessness. They've taught me about true friendship and what that means and how it shows up. And they've taught me how to build better relationships. with people, with myself first. They've taught me how to connect and not disengage my emotions, but how to connect and engage and not be afraid, no matter how scary it is. They've taught me about intimacy and vulnerability. They're similar but very different. How about emotional agility? What does that mean to be emotionally agile? To be in balance and understanding when you're not. So many of us just turn that off, disengage from those feelings. We're not even aware that we feel certain feelings anymore. I was there. They've taught me how to be flexible, adaptable. They've taught me a new, healthy self-reliance, not a self-reliance because I'm always on survival mode, but a healthy self-reliance. That is a deep subject. They've given me confidence in myself. They've allowed me to tap into my intuitive power. They've shown me how to be present and not be afraid, which is also being aware. A lot about my ego, a lot about my energy and the power of my intention. I used to electrocute Legend all the time for like 2 years, and he would bite me. For 2 years. And I'd been everywhere. I'd ask this question to some of this, whether it was equine assisted therapeutic programs I was on the board of or natural horsemanship. I was like, everything looks fine when I'm asking them to do X, Y, and Z at Liberty in the round pen. And then when I stop him and I invite him in, he nickers and then he bites me in the boob every frickin' time. Not one person could give me an answer, nor would they. But I know the answer. At least I do for myself. They've taught me about surrender. How to surrender doesn't mean give up. They've taught me courage, patience. That really, with them, that's been easy, but more patience. How about this? How about patience in a way that has nothing to do with them? Patience in my life. How to be patient for things to come in my life. That's the type of patience I'm talking about, not patience with them. And with patience came timing, because we can all want something, but we have to be ready for it. Timing's everything. When we're ready, things just magically appear, don't they? They just seamlessly, effortlessly happen when we're ready. Call it synchronicity, serendipity, divine intervention, all of it. And last but not least, they taught me leadership. And did I bring partnership in there? I don't think I did. Or courage. So I actually have 25 because they all, I said courage, but they taught me about partnership. And I used to always take over. It's a trust issue. And it's an ego issue too. I always would take control and take over. So people that are always in control are insecure. You don't trust. And it's also your ego, which is part of being insecure. Anybody have anything to share?
Share.
So Zor, so this is the interesting thing about it. Sundance is still my spiritual guide, but it's on a really low frequency and low need level. And so now I have Zor, Lovey, Joey, Sombroso, and Baby Blue. So I still have 5 horses. I have 7 horses altogether now that Smokey's gone. Excuse me. So yes, I would tell you that right now, Zor is number 1. And that has a lot to do with, he wanted to be number 1 many years ago. Zor's 12 this year, and I've had him since he was 4. And I mean, I have a permanent bone bruise from getting into a kicking match between he and Sundance. He has tried to run Legend down. You know, he's bit his back with an incisor back in the day. I mean, he's hated Legend, and Sundance has hated him. And so Zor has tried. He was never ready until he's really coming into his own now. And we have these conversations, he and I, and I've had these conversations with him for years, that it's not your time. And if you keep pushing the envelope, I may sell you. So he's now so come into his own. And I think you all can see that in just his presence in the videos and the seamless, effortless connection that we have. And he's in a lot of my videos now, isn't he? Because he's earned that position, and he so wants to be my lead horse, but not in a work, like not going out there and you know, training and working. His role is very different and very similar to Sundance's. In Lovey is still, you know, I'm still rehabilitating Lovey. Lovey still has some triggers. She's 11. She has not come into her own yet. I do not feel that she is at all ready to be my spiritual guide. She's too much of a reactor and receiver. She doesn't have that strength yet. The baby is wiser beyond, and he definitely loves those moments when he can shine, and he is so proud next to me. So he will definitely be one of my spiritual guides. And I do believe that he also, Smokey passed through him, and you know, everything happened for a reason. And you know, he was brought to me because of Smokey's failing condition. And Joey also steps up to be a spiritual guide. Sabroso too, every once in a while. You got to watch Sabroso. Sabroso knows what's going on. You know, we don't do anything with Sabroso, but Sabroso is always helping. So it's really, it's really cool. It's so cool. And Legend's always all ears, eyes, and nostrils. So Lay watches everything.
He's very nice. He wants to know everything.
Yes, he does want to know. So Lay's amazing. Legend. You know, he's 29 this year. So yeah, it's really,
He's 29.
yeah. I worry about Sundance. She's got really bad arthritis in her hocks, and I worry about her. I'm afraid that she's going to be next to be prematurely put down because of pain. And then I'm like, Jesus, if she goes down before Legend, holy cow, I can't imagine him. They're like husband and wife. I can't imagine.
That gave me chills.
But that really, really bothers me. Not good. It's always in the back of my mind. So I have a lot more that I have 6 more pages, and guess what, guys? I'm going to save it for part 2, which will be April 28th. I speak again. We've got 2 guest speakers. We have Emily next week, and then we've got Jen the following week. There's a lot more we can dive into, and I think I've given y'all a lot to absorb or be inspired by, especially the whole consensual partnership and you know, what it looks like, how to achieve it, how important it is. And then, you know, now we're talking about how horses help us become better versions of ourselves. What does that mean to you? And so, hey, join me in 2 weeks and let me know. That'd be pretty cool. Or email me if you want me to dive in deeper. Email me, Caroline@dalofhorsemanship.com. Does anybody have any questions before I sign off? Yeah, pretty deep, pretty beautiful stuff.
Answering Lydia. She said maybe they need to go together.
What needs to go together? Legend and Sundance? I've thought about that, Lydia. Are you kidding?
just
I've thought about that. Legend will tell me if he's that brokenhearted.
become trees together, Rebecca says.
I love it.
That
Oh,
would
hi,
be
Rebecca.
phenomenal.
Well, it's like when my two dogs, who both passed away, they were born the same year, and they both passed away the same year at the age of 14. But Sydney passed away, first, and I thought for sure Bear wouldn't want to live, and Bear lived another 6 months or so. So I mean, they'll tell you. Like, I thought Bear would have died of a broken heart, and he didn't. It's like, I hate to say this, but it's like when Sydney passed away, Sydney always was such the dominant lead dog, and she asserted herself, and so she always kicked Bear aside, and she also got jealous. And so Bear had like 6 months of me all to himself, and he got it, believe me. But his body was definitely shutting down. So honestly, Bear was really happy. But that's a totally different relationship what my dog Bear and Sydney had compared to Legend and Sundance, because Lay is still top horse and number one. And, if he doesn't act like that, if Sundance goes before him, if he doesn't act like top horse, then wow, he'll just have to tell me,
There was a question that I seen, but I can't find it now. Everybody's saying thank you, but it was Claudine, I believe. She said her Mary's 18. Do you think it's a good idea for her to have a baby?
Yeah, Claudine, sure. I mean, I thought about breeding Sundance. She's 21 this year. I thought about breeding Sundance up until 20. It all depends on your mare's health. And, just Sundance, I'm so glad that I waited, because now her hocks are in such bad shape that the weight of a baby like a year or two prior would have probably just put her out of commission. So, yeah.
Yeah, she said she's 18 years old.
You need the program, Dinah. I hope that you can join the mastery. So listen, we're having another monthly international workshop and webinar about the mastery membership next Tuesday. And I haven't done one since January. So this is where I do all my Facebook ads. We do a ton of promotion, and we give the mastery membership a big discount. So it's the same that it's been for the last year. So instead of it being $199, which is the regular price, it's going to be $14.99. So we will, Dina, thank you, Dina. We will have, that'll be available as of next Tuesday. So I hope you guys can join me for that great webinar. But if you already know what the Mastery Membership is about, because you're joining these podcasts and all that great stuff, then just reach out to me and I will gladly grant you that special discount. All right. Okay, guys, love you all. Have a great rest of your week, and I will see you next Wednesday. I can't remember exactly what Emily's topic is. I can probably find out. Let me see here real quick. Yep, because we post the monthly topics on the Dow Horsemanship.
The magic of connection with your horse.
Yeah, thank you, hon. The magic of connection with your horse. Yay! So that's next week. And Emily, she's doing so phenomenal in the program and has so much to share. She loves to share. So that is next week. And then Jen, that's the 14th, April 20th, Jen Kruger, my dear friend, is going to be talking about dealing with unexpected setbacks with your horse. They've had a shitload. And Jen's deep like the rest of us. So it's not just going to be your typical, well, setbacks. I don't really want to talk about lameness issues, but we are going to talk about lameness issues and a lot of the emotion, that a lot of stuff. It's going to be pretty deep. And then April 28th, my topic was going to be how to improve your learning and change who you are as a learner, but I'm not. We'll change that and I'll make it a continuation of this particular podcast. Okay, thanks guys. We're going to sign off now. Bye.